And we are here today with Zoe Martin, one of the authors in the Leadership Unveiled book. Um, so, why don't you, Zoe, just introduce yourself? Tell everyone just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge that you've allowed me to be a guest on your podcast. I appreciate that very much. And my name is Zoe Martin. My business is documenting legacy through film. I do that through several different arenas. Back in the day, film was definitely cameras, but it was also video. So I document legacy with your portraits that you've already taken, your old home movies, or I can record currently. So it's an opportunity for you to be able to share your legacy to future generations, whether you're the family historian or you're a business or an organization founder.
Oh, that's so cool. So, how did you get into that?
That's a tough story. My baby sister got breast cancer. She was diagnosed with stage 4 at the age of 35. And it was a really tough time for my niece who was in high school. But we had 5 years with my sister, Christina. And the last 2 weeks before she took her last breath, I was by her side in hospice. We had her at home, and her husband and I were back and forth, taking turns medicating her and making sure she was comfortable and everything. But one day I was alone with her, and she said, "Zoe, go get the letters." And I thought, oh, I had forgotten completely that she was going to write these letters to her only child. She had our sister Cecilia create custom stationery, beautiful envelopes and letters, but I hadn't seen them yet. And my sister had recently downsized, moved into this house that she hadn't got to completely unpack yet. And she knew exactly where the letters were. So I got them, I sat down beside her. I'm so excited to open these up. And as I went through every envelope, I realized that she hadn't written any of the letters. And then my heart sank. And you know those moments in movies where like all these things are happening at once, but you realize it's just been a really brief amount of time? That was the moment for me because I'm grabbing pens, I'm thinking what ink flow, what color, and just, scavenging for something to write with. And then I looked at her and I realized her health had declined so much that she didn't have the strength to hold her cup. She wouldn't be able to write the letters. And I looked at her and I said, here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to record you, and you say what you want to say, and we'll worry about getting pen to paper later. And so she took her oxygen and she put it on the top of her head, but the sound of the oxygen tank was reverberating in the background. And, she's weak, she's frail, she has no hair. And the medications and everything were really, it made her thoughts incomplete. And what she said in those recordings definitely wouldn't have been what she would have said in a clear state of mind. Not only that, but the amount of time that we had to record before she actually fell asleep again was very brief. And so, um, after the celebration of life, I took the letters to my niece and I explained that it wasn't my place to write on them, but that she'd created this custom stationery. And then I played the videos, and their dog was at the foot of the bed. And as soon as she heard Christina's voice, she whipped her head around, and my niece and I just lost it.
Hmm.
It was really tough, to watch it, knowing all of us wanted to be able to have Christina with us still. So those are the videos that my niece has, the last, thoughts that my sister wanted to pass on to her. And a few days after that, I got a phone call from an organization called Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep that I volunteer with. And it may not have been the best timing, but I'm an empath. And my thought process was if I don't document this loss for this family, they're not going to have professional portraits. But when I got into the room, I found out that the baby was almost full term. It was an unexpected demise, and that there was an older sibling, and the older sibling was expecting a baby to come home. But the family had decided not to allow the older sibling to meet the baby. And that broke me like uncontrollably. Tears started to stream down my face. And the nurse was standing between us, thankfully, so the family didn't know that I I really just wanted to walk away. I pulled myself together. I photographed the family, and then I contacted headquarters and said, I can't do this anymore. I had to find a way to honor Christina.
Yeah.
And that's what pivoted my business. That was when I decided that I needed to honor her legacy.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's awesome that you stepped up and you took your business in a whole new direction. So what has that done for you personally? The that transaction, that transformation actually.
Yeah, so I was a headshot and personal brand photographer before, and I'm totally for, I mean, I have my own headshots and my own personal branding. You know, it's important and a necessary thing, especially if you're active on social media, you have a website. But looking at the things that we're documenting with our phones right now, you go through the pictures that you've taken, all these thumbnails of your food or the restaurant you're at or random things. And I thought, this is un when we're gone and people are looking through our phones looking for, the pictures that we have with them and things, they're going to be seeing the pictures of our food and random, TikTok dances and things that's not how we want to be remembered, right? And
Right.
so my mindset shifted to understanding the importance of recording our stories so that we can pass them on and have a tangible legacy that other people will be able to remember us with.
Yeah, so we're talking to Zoe Martin about the book Leadership. And that book is available or will be available for purchase at actiontakerspublishing.com/books when this goes live. But tell me a little bit about why you decided to write a chapter in this book and what that process has been like.
Well, it's very new. I had actually started writing my own book when I found out about this anthology that was being put together. And I'm a member of Leadership Global, which is an amazing networking opportunity. So it seemed fitting for me to go ahead and write a chapter, like a little prequel to what my entire book is going to be. So it's been the camaraderie, being in the group and having opportunities to be able to learn how to write, how to work together. And there's a lot that goes into writing a book, even if it's only a chapter. So it's been an interesting journey, and it's going to help with completing my own book that I hope to publish before the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what's nice about the collaboration books, right? Is you can take your one piece of your story and put it out there. And like you said, you meet the other authors, you learn the process
Right.
of what it's like to launch a book because I think a lot of times writers don't realize what it takes to write, publish, format, and get a book out into the world and to get their name out there. And I know for me personally, when I first started this 5+ years ago and doing this, I had never written a book before, and I got into my very first collaboration, and that kind of opened the doors to more collaboration books, more opportunities, and then writing my own book. And so that kind of like spearheaded everything. And I love that, you're using this as a prequel to your book. So you want to just is the story that you shared in the book the story about your sister and the business, or is it something else that you shared in the book that you wanted to tell us about?
Yeah, the book, my own book is a little bit of both. There's a lot more pre-story to me being the eldest sibling, and then life that has happened that if you look at my life and you look at the full circle of it, it's actually so incredible how, I was the person that always had the camera in my hand. I mean, I still am, of course. So I have picture album scrapbooks from when I was a child. I was the one that was documenting things. And then I journaled for my children, handwritten journals for each of them before they were ever born. And then, ancestry.com and all of the things have just come around to be what I consider myself now, a documentarian or a personal historian. And there's actually a pretty good community of people that, whether it's writing your biography and autobiography, documenting through scrapbooking. I mean, there's a really a wide variety of people in this sphere. And so the book that I'm writing is more than my story. It's really encouraging people to think about the future and not waiting. That's the biggest takeaway that I want people to get is to not wait for an end of life diagnosis or a hospice situation before you start documenting, because then it could be too late.
Yeah, yeah. And I think about, like with my family, I wish I had asked my grandmother more stories and, that kind of thing going back generations. And, I know before she passed, her and I would have these conversations. And I think it's just so special to be able to write those down and have, because you think you're going to remember, but you don't always. So having that written log of somebody's life is just so precious.
Yeah, and to your point, there are apps and there's people who write down these stories. But for me, I think having it through film where you're actually seeing their expression, you hear their voice, you see their mannerisms, that's even more powerful than having the written word where you don't hear their tone and you don't hear their expression and you don't see that smile creep across their face or the giggle. So that's why for me, documenting it through film is an even more powerful, more intimate, more tangible form of celebrating someone's life. And again, we're not waiting till the end. We're doing this now, and that's super. Children have an interesting mindset and thought process, right? They're innocent. And so documenting them now and then maybe every year or every milestone so that you can see the transition of their thought process and how life, experiences have shaped them. I think that's a beautiful thing for someone to pass on.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of women I know, really don't like to take their picture. They don't like to be in front of the camera. They don't like the way they look on film. And so they shy away from doing that. But in the process, they're depriving their family of having these special moments, like you
Exactly.
said.
Yep. And the truth of the matter is the way that we look right now is the way that everybody sees us. So whether we like it or not, this is who we are at this moment. And so exactly like you said, heaven forbid something that should happen tomorrow and then you've left nothing because you didn't want to get in front of the camera.
Yeah. Well, Zoe is an author in the leadership book that's coming out soon. Zoe, what do you want the readers to take away from reading your chapter in the leadership book that you wrote?
I really want people to see the need to document their stories, and they can do it on their own or they can hire a professional to do it, but just to do it, like schedule, okay, Mother's Day is coming up, for example. So I'm going to sit down with my mom, or as a mom, I'm going to sit down and record a story for my children, or I'm going to sit beside my children and we're going to have a conversation about what this last year has looked like, or how much I was excited about their birth. I mean, there's so many opportunities for people to document. With Father's Day coming up, that's I mean, obvious one, but I have blogs and I have, the book is coming out and that my main book is also going to stress different questions and things that you can do to start the conversation, family reunions, the birthdays, anniversaries, not just milestones, but those are always a good opportunity when families together to be able to document the stories. So do it.
Absolutely. So if someone wants to get a hold of you or get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
The Zoe Martin. You can find me at thezoemartin.com and on social, that's where you'll find me.
All right, so head on over, connect with Zoe, check out her, check out the book Leadership is coming out, and go head on over to actiontakerspublishing.com/books, and you'll be able to see all of the stuff that we have available over there. Zoe, thank you so much for being part of this and for sharing your story here.